It's a good day for a good day. Hello, everybody. My name's Cece Ray. Thanks for joining me here at Break the Dish, where we break the news and dish out the tea. Breakers, breakers, breakers. How was your weekend? Mine was pretty good. You know, I'm very happy that it's not like -0 outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, this winter. It was a long winter, but I am so happy it's getting warmer. So happy. We're getting ready to recap The Real Housewives of Rhode Island, Season 1, Episode 3. You know, have you ever been like watching the television and all of a sudden you find yourself like talking at the television? Like, what? What did she say? Yeah, exactly. That was one of these episodes. But before we get into it, you know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because here we break the dish. We are talking The Real Housewives of Rhode Island, Season 1, Episode 3. I'll tell you, these women bring it. I mean, so far, each episode, they bring it. And I mean bring it. So let's get right into it, shall we? So this episode opens up and, Ashley and Rose are together, Rosie, and they're talking about the winery and how they were so surprised that Kelsey actually, fessed up to her situationship, being like, is it polyamorous? Yeah, polyamorous. Then we see Liz and her husband, they're riding bikes, and she's talking about how, everybody basically is talking about these rumors about her and Dino. And again, like in her confessional, she's saying like, her husband used to go away 3 out of 4 weeks a month. This went on for like 5 years. And so she always hung around their friend Dino. And not only that, but he's not just her friend. He's her husband, Jerry's friend too. She said, matter of fact, a lot of times Jerry would be like, watch out for Liz, make sure everything's okay at the home front, that type of thing. And we also find out that she's getting ready to plan Jerry's birthday party. It's a Studio 54 theme. This must be like the in theme this year because we just had that on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Then we see Joellen. She's talking to her husband, Gary, about, this email that was sent from Ruella's husband, Brian, how, it trying to get her fired. And she's not too happy about that, obviously. Then we see Kelsey. She's meeting up with, let's just say, we'll call him boyfriend number 2. Okay. So this guy, his name's William. He goes by Bill. And, she knows that the guy in Miami is not loyal to her, obviously. I mean, he lives with a woman in Miami, 5 months of the year or something. And she's known this guy, Bill, since she was in 7th grade. But she keeps him, at arm's length. He knows that her situation. Listen, I mean, the real situation is she does, at this point anyway, she doesn't want to give up the lap of luxury. I mean, for 10 years, she hasn't had to work. She's wanted for nothing. She lives in a 36,000 square foot home. I mean, that's the payoff, basically. That's reality there. Um, then we see Alicia at her home, and Liz is coming to visit. This is where things get a little weird, okay? So she opens the door to Liz, and at first Alicia says, they're doing construction, but then we find out, no. Her doll collection, which she refers to as her friends, they're always there. And it's a little weird. I mean, like, she's going on about how, like, she's taught her daughter, for instance, like, to play gentle with those dolls, and how, like, she loves the eyeliner and the makeup and the shimmering of the lips and their clothes. And Liz is like standing there with this like expression on her face. She's so much better than I would have been, because I would have been like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Like, it got a little weird. Just saying. And they're also talking about how, like, Alicia has been engaged now for 9 years. And, she's got her guard up because her dad left when she was 16. Apparently, 4 out of the 6 women in her life, which I'm sure she's talking about her aunts, are all divorced. And, I mean, who has time for a husband when you're playing with dolls? I'm just saying, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Then we see Rulla. She's having a Lebanese lunch. And these are, the women, apparently they're all, from that Lebanese side. And they're asking her about how things are with the kids, because of, what her husband's been up to. And she says, well, the kids, they sense a difference. There's damage done when there's an affair. And basically these women are giving her the advice of like, you don't walk out the door just because somebody made a mistake, And Rulla says, in her confessional, well, she doesn't really come out with it right away. She basically is saying they don't believe in divorce, but then the producer says, well, haven't you been divorced before? And she goes, yeah, we don't talk about that. My family wouldn't want you to talk about that. I mean, she shut it down. I would like to know that story. Just saying. We see Ashley with Jared. They're on a date night, and so he closes up the coffee shop, walks across the street, meets her at this Italian restaurant, and he right away sits down and he's talking about like the ice machine not working, and really they need a new coffee machine. And Ashley is listening, and he's just insecure because it's not making the money that he wanted it to make, and he doesn't want Ashley to feel stressed. It's stressful when you have your own business. And I mean, is it a busy coffee shop? I mean, could it be the location? Or it's hard. And restaurants, they're hard anyway. You know what I mean? They usually say that like when you open a restaurant, it takes like the first 5 years, if you don't close up, that is, in the first 5 years, you're just breaking even then. So, he's at that 5-year mark, I think she said. So, I mean, I get it though. It's a lot of stress. We see Rosie with her husband. They are celebrating their 1-year wedding anniversary, and the discussion of children comes up. He says, you don't want to rule out having no children. And she starts talking about how like, she's not sure if she wants to have children or not. I got the impression that her and her mother have, I don't want to say a volatile relationship, but as she explained it, like she was always like struggling just to always make her mother happy, even when it came down to, getting married and where they got married at, and and she could just never make her mother happy. And I guess maybe she doesn't want to put that on, you know, her own children, possibly. But that was the main discussion there. So now it's the day for Liz's husband's birthday party. Remember, they're having a theme of Studio 54. And, she's talking about, having Dino there. It's important, but it also reminds her, like, of what people keep saying, which apparently really bugs her. Everyone's starting to trickle in. Kelsey comes in, and then her friend Bill comes in. She explains that he is not her plus one. He is actually good friends with Jerry, so he would be there whether, there was any type of relationship between her and him or not. Did you notice what he was wearing, though? I mean, I know it's a theme party, Studio 54. He came in like looking like he's a stripper or something. Maybe somebody didn't explain it to him. I don't know. Did you see that? Like, it's really weird. Dolores and Polly are there. Everybody starts showing up. Joellen comes in. Rulla and her husband come in. And so while Joellen and her husband are talking to Dolores, Rulla and her husband, Brian, are like, can you give us a minute? Like, we'd like to talk. The weird thing is that Dolores says, well, I'm going to go get a natural diet soda. It was just weird the way she said it. Like, I don't know if that's code for something, but it was really weird. But she goes up to Kelsey and she's like, look at this over here. Look at these four. They're talking, So both couples sit down, and right away, Joellen's husband, Gary, is like, what's going on with you contacting Joellen's work, And in her confessional, she's explaining, like, well, not just a confessional. I mean, she's even saying it again to Rulla, like, Brian wrote this email to her job, basically trying to get her fired. And Brian says, look, I called the company. It was not my intent, though, to have her fired. Gary says, then what was your intent? And Brian says, look, I just wanted her to stop saying certain things. And, Gary's like, I would have expected you to call me. I would have shut it down. I would have had a conversation with my wife, He's like, but instead, you go right to the top of her company. Like, that pisses me off. And now that's a huge problem for me. And Joellen says, we shouldn't be calling anybody's jobs. It's crossing the line. And Rulla says, well, can you stop throwing things out there? And Carrie's like, everybody's talking about it. Joellen says, like, everybody knows, like, this is crazy. Like, he's having an affair and it's not my problem. And Rulla said, he had an indiscretion, but it's water under the bridge. Like, this, are you serious? So then Joellen says, don't take it out on me. And Rulla says, well, you're exasperating and spreading, the word here. And even in Rulla's confessional, she says, look, he said it was done. I believe him. And she says to Joellen, you were just so excited to, spread pictures and hearsay. And Gary's like, I don't give a crap. He's like, what I care about is when it affects my wife putting food on the table for my kids. And Joellen says, well, maybe it's not done. And, you don't want to admit it. And Rulla says, he's not having an affair. Joellen says, he is. Like, I promise you, on my children's lives, he is. And Rulla looks at her husband, Brian, like he's dead silent. And she says, just tell them how it is. Like, speak your piece. Brian says, look, he's like skirting around it. Like, we all have things we do. We're just not talking about anything. And in Joellen's confessional, she says, look, I'm not trying to hurt Rulla. I'm trying to protect her from a horrible husband. She says everyone in the group knows. She deserves to know this too. So Rulla says to Brian, why aren't you saying anything? Brian says, well, you're saying it all. It was bizarre. I mean, like if I was sitting there and I was his wife and he wasn't saying nothing, like Zippo, I would definitely be giving him a side eye. Like, is it going on? Like, is she telling the truth? Like, I would have called him out. So now Liz comes over to the table and she's like, what's going on? And Gary says, we're talking about Joellen's job because he's still upset about that, which I don't blame him. And Liz says, listen, it's Jerry's birthday. We're going to forget about it right now. It's just stupid. And so Rulla and Brian are walking away, and under Ruella's breath, you hear her say, I don't know why she's making things up. Lady, like everybody's telling you, you've seen pictures. She's not making anything up, And then he makes some stupid remark. Brian says, next she'll be saying that I'm like at a DD freak out. So stupid, Then we see them in the car. Talk about awkward. I mean, there is like dead silence between Rulla and Brian. Like dead silence. Like when they say there's enough tension to cut it with a knife, I mean, you definitely could cut it with a knife. You know what I'm saying? And finally, she says to him, I know you like to be calm, and you like to think about things. She's like, but I wish you would have said something. I mean, Joellen was trying to put you down. And Brian says, well, I wasn't going to start a fight with a female. The crazy thing is that in the after show, she's still on this. Like, no joke. She is still on about the fact that why he acted that way was because he didn't want to fight with a female. Mind you, I'm going to put an allegedly on this. Remember in like the first or second episode, they're talking about this, her and him, and he says to Rulla, like, I let you track me so you know where I'm at all times. Remember he said that? Well, apparently as long as both parties know, then it's legal, okay? But allegedly, she had her husband arrested because he put a tracker on her car. And it wasn't to see what she was up to. It was to make sure he knew where she was at all times so that he could continue this affair. I'll put an allegedly on that, but it's pretty much, public knowledge. I'm just saying. Crazy, right? Um, so then we see Liz, she's outside, and Kelsey bends down to her, and you can tell that Liz has been drinking. I mean, she's definitely had quite a few. And Liz says, I want to go to the seawall with Jerry and Dino. And that way everybody can see, like, Dino's my best friend. He's our best friend. And Kelsey says to Liz, I don't know. I mean, with the onset, and before she could get it out, Liz says, rumors? And then she jumps up and she says, go F off, Kelsey. I was like, wow, I didn't see that coming, right? So Liz goes upstairs. Kelsey goes following her. And, you hear Liz say to her, like, you may have ongoing things going on, but not me, And meanwhile, Joellen says to her husband, Gary, did you see the girls go upstairs? Like, something's going on. I'm worried. When I see a wife say this to her husband, it makes me think that the husband gets just as much out of it, like with gossipy stuff, as much as the wife does. I'm just saying. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm just saying. So Alicia and Joellen now, they start going up the steps, and you hear Kelsey say to Liz, why are you mad at me? And Liz says, you have more to hide than I do. And in Liz's confessional, she's telling how, when she said about the rumor situation, it just rubbed her the wrong way. And she's like, if Kelsey wants to distance herself from Dino, that's on her, but don't point the finger at me. And so the producer asks Liz during her confessional, she says, well, how does Kelsey know Dino? And Liz turns around and says, that's a great question. You might want to ask Kelsey that. What? What? Did you see that coming? I didn't see that coming. So meanwhile, these two are still at it in the bedroom. Kelsey says to Liz, this is not what I wanted. And Liz says to her, oh, it never is, Kelsey. It never is, And she says, like, I don't give an F anymore. I just want to go to bed. The other two girls are up there. They get kicked out of the bedroom. And Alicia says, I've never seen Kelsey yell like that before. Like, she's never seen her like that. She says, now, when you've got Hurricane Liz, time to pack up and go. And that's where the episode ends. So what did you guys think? Listen, these ladies, number one, are bringing it. Every episode, it's good. They have, talk about transparency. These ladies are dishing it out. They really are. If you were going to rate the episode, how would you rate it? I would say, maybe a good 8.5. It was solid. It really was solid, Now, I have to say this. I'm going to have to talk about it. What is up with Alicia and her friends? Her dolls. Is that weird or what? They're all standing in their own little houses. Even on the after show, she was saying how she likes to play music, brush their hair out, change their clothes, It's relaxing. It soothes her. That's weird. That is weird. Like, literally, you're a grown woman playing with dolls. That's weird. It's weird. I mean, just when you think you've seen it all, there you go. Like, she's the first Real Housewife to be playing with dolls that we know of anyway. And what's up with the relationship with Kelsey and Dino? There's a story there I'd like to know. Will we find out? Hopefully, since it's been brought out. Interesting, right? Even on Watch What Happens Live, Liz was on Watch What Happens Live, and she kind of like skirted around it, if you notice. There's definitely a story there. So, like, Kelsey's already admitted to being, polyamorous. So would this make her a V? Is that right? A V? When you're dating 3 people? I don't know. I'm asking. I have no idea. Listen, let her live her life. I mean, hey, she's a beautiful girl. You know, her problem is that she's been spoiled. You know, she got into this situation with boyfriend number 1, and he spoiled her. She lives the lap of luxury and does not want to really walk away from it. And so she wants her cake and eat it too, just like he does. Think about it. So I say, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But what do you all think? You know, I love to keep this conversation going in the comments below. And before you do, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because here we break the dish.